Hi, my name's Cameron Carlson with AnimatedLocation.tv. I'm here at Animatic 2017 with Mikey Mason. How you doing?
Rockstar Mikey Mason. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I checked the ego at the door with the big sign that was behind Drunken Sailor.
So, how did you all get started in the world of entertainment?
Oh, man. I have always been an attention-seeking little person. So even when I was a young kid, my brothers played guitar. We would put on shows in the backyard, literally playing songs like The Ballad of 1812 and Freebird. I'm white trash. and it was, and that's where I got started. I always wanted attention. I always wanted people to pay attention to me. And I always wanted it to be in a positive way because I would rather have people laugh with me than at me. Or if they're going to laugh at me, I want to control it. And that's where it came from. Big fan of the band Kiss, which is weird because it doesn't really show. But yeah, the whole idea of putting on a big show and entertaining lots of people always. When I was in 4th grade, my teacher asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I said Paul Stanley. Nice. And he said, I think that job's taken. You might want a backup plan. So, well, all right, I'll tell jokes to Middle America. That's how I got started.
Alrighty. So tell us about your transition from stand-up comedy to geek comedy.
So when I was, I'd been doing stand-up comedy professionally for about a decade. In about 2011, I've always been a geek. Since summer of 1983, I've been a geek. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I had these urges that just never got expressed on stage in my regular stand-up act because I was telling jokes to Middle America, and you referenced Dungeons & Dragons to Middle America. This is before Big Bang Theory made geek chic a thing, and you can roll your eyes at Big Bang Theory, but they're why you can buy the stuff you like at the store now. So I loved Firefly, and I wrote a song about Firefly and put it out on the internet because I just had to get it out. And it turns out that it went viral, that there was an audience for it. And then I started saying, well, let's start the transition. There's an audience out there. Let's record an album. And so I recorded Impotent Nerd Rage. It kickstarted it, and it went off without a hitch. And I recorded that album, and then next thing you know, I'm blah, blah, blah albums later doing geek rock comedy.
And I've heard your summer of 1983. That was quite entertaining last night.
And thank you. And my favorite part of that song, it's a parody of Summer of '69, but every word of it is literally true, factually correct. In the summer of 1983, all of those things happened. Well, it started the ball for everything that happened in there. So,
all right. So, was the transition more work or about what? Was it hard for you to actually get this transition going from stand-up comedy to geek comedy? Was that hard for you, or was it kind of just a lot easier?
Well, all right, artistically, the progression is very natural, but making the leap to do it for money is work. And the reality is there are people who want to do things, and there are people who do things. And you can be somebody who does things. All you have to do is do it. You want to be a writer? Write. You don't need a publicist, you don't need an agent, you don't need to be good, you just need to write. You want to be a musician, make music. Now, I'm not claiming that I'm any good, but I made albums and people listen and they like it. I make videos and sometimes people watch them. And I do shows and sometimes people applaud. And what I can say is that I get up and I do stuff, and whatever it is that I want to do, I just start. Because you can't get anywhere without that first step.
Yeah. Alrighty, so you were also a part of 2 podcasts. Tell us about them.
All right, so I'm a founding member of the All in the Reflexes Geek Culture podcast, and we cover geek news and events on a semi-regular basis. And then I'm also the host of the Beer Powered Time Machine, which is a beer and comedy podcast. It comes out weekly like clockwork, and is actually finally getting a fairly large audience. And it's not fit for human consumption. It's not PG. It's explicit rated. And we earn it every episode. But it's also we discuss the smaller part of the show is that we discuss good beers, and we'll taste 3 beers in an episode, and we'll talk about them. But the big thing is that I look at beer as a metaphor for time travel, because when you get drunk, you start reliving those moments in your past. The present becomes cloudy, the past is crystal clear. And so we use that metaphor. We tell it's kind of like the moth, but with beer and vulgarity, and less class. But we tell true stories. That's the thing. It has to be an absolutely true story. And of course, there's a lot of commentary and joking around. But we've built a real community around it, and I'm incredibly proud of Beer Powered Time Machine.
You know what? You'd probably get along with the Whiskey Brothers podcast. A few of our friends on that.
I've had a few whiskey-powered time machines. Yes, I probably would get along with the Whiskey Brothers quite well.
All right. Now, in addition to even, so is there a different mindset when you perform comedy as to performing your podcast?
Oh, yeah. My podcast, I don't think at all about what I'm going to say. It's not scripted. Well, I do. I think, all right, is there a story I want to tell this week or whatever? Is there a topic I want to cover? But other than that, planning stuff, I mean, those are just very sketchy outline stuff. When I do stand-up comedy, the key to stand-up comedy is you're having what looks like a dialogue with an audience, but only one of you is supposed to talk, right? But it's scripted. It's very scripted. And even the stuff that looks like it's off the cuff, most of the time is scripted. I know I'm pulling back the curtain here, but that's why a lot of people feel like that it's okay to talk back to the comic during a show, especially if the comic's really good at hiding the fact that it's not just coming off the top of their head. So, but it's very, doing stand-up comedy is a very scripted thing.
Alrighty. Now, in addition to even a game show in the hometown, tell us about that.
So, I just started a game. I run trivia every week at a bar called the Fickle Peach, and I do a game show event every week. The trivia's on Tuesday nights. The game show's on Wednesday nights. It's at the Guardian Brewing Company, and it's just basically a silly, fun, fast... I like to ask, not incredibly. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to audition like Jeopardy. You just have to go to a bar, really, and participate. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be a team. You just have to play. And I've got local businesses to sponsor it. So in addition to people winning prizes of beer, they all, which is basically I buy them a beer. I buy a lot of beer. I've also got local businesses donating products and services. And so, people, I'm, $150 a week between beer and products. Wow. And it's local. I like to keep it local. I know that, I make fun of Applebee's, but they really would probably give me a gift card. If I said, will you be a sponsor, give me a gift card, they would. And it's not that I'm against that. It's just that I'd rather keep it local.
Alrighty. Now, in the world, what in the world even happened to get the idea for the game show?
All right, so I run a very successful trivia night, and I have for the past 4 years at the Fickle Peach. And I'm friends with the guys who run the Guardian Brewing Company, and I was approached, and they said, would you like to do something during the week? And I said, well, I could only do it on Wednesdays. They said, fine. What do you want to do? And I said, I don't know, a game show? And they said, okay. And that's how it is. I mean, so I immediately went into production mode. How do I format this? How will I present it? What's going to be the prize? And how do I make it different from everything else? And that's where it comes from. And, it looks very quick. It's like stand-up comedy. It looks very quick, off the cuff, and very natural. But that's because it's very scripted and rehearsed.
Yeah. So... Alrighty, now you happen to be heard on the Dr. Demento radio show, well known for helping launch many great groups, most notably Mr. Weird Al Yankovic. Oh, yeah. How does it feel to have your music heard there?
The last person I geeked out about meeting, I was at MarsCon in Bloomington, Minnesota a few years ago, and the great Luke Ski says, "Hey, Mikey, there's someone I want you to meet." And I said, okay. And he goes, come on over here. And he introduces him. And I'm like, and I just immediately start babbling. It's verbal diarrhea. And I said, when I was a little kid, we listened to you on the big record. It was beep, 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 beep. His horn went beep, beep, and 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, or more. And I'm just literally and he was so kind and so patient.
Yeah, I've heard that about him.
And then later I went up and we actually had a conversation. But it's one of these things. It was a formative moment in my youth. Well, lots of formative moments in my youth. The comedy music. We would literally listen to the big LPs, and they're coming to take me away, haha, and all of that. And Weird Al, was a formative part of my youth. So it has no. I can't describe. It's like. Man, I don't know. It's hard to it's so hard to describe. It's like he's the reason Weird Al has a career.
Yeah.
He is the reason, and it's not like he's also a great guy. But it's indescribable, the feeling to know that he actually has listened. He owns some of my stuff. The last album I put out, he was the first person to buy it, and I know because I have the digital receipt online. He was the first person. I'm like, Barry's a great guy, by the way, and that's an incredible feeling. An incredible feeling.
Awesome. That sounds like it's been a wonderful time for you with him. So it says in your bio that you have a big heart and like to play for charity events. When you go to them, how does it feel to make your music and comedy help people?
I don't. It's a lie. I don't have a big heart. It's propaganda. No, I do. I do charity events. I try and do at least one a year. The problem with charity events is that they want to pay the caterer, but they don't want to pay the entertainer. So I volunteer once or twice a year, but I can't afford to volunteer all of the events that ask me. Yeah. Which is, and I have no problem volunteering once or twice a year, but there are a lot of incredible causes out there. And it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful to know that what you do for a living professionally, and you're able to bring joy to people when you're a stand-up comic or a musician, actually benefits the world in a more tangible level too. And that's incredible. I wish I could do more. Unfortunately, I actually have to pay rent too.
Yeah.
So
it's understandable. So you have
well, mortgage. It's not rent. When stuff goes wrong, somebody's got to fix it. Anyway.
All right. You have a lot of love for TV show The Firefly, making the parody song to go with it, I'm a Big Damn Hero. Yeah. What's it like working on that song, making sure that everyone knew what you loved about Firefly?
Oh, well, all right, so I have a lot of songs about Firefly. But that song in particular is special to me because I don't do a whole lot of parodies. For a guy who does parodies, I say I don't do a lot, but I do more than I would imagine. But that's a parody that's written using lines directly from the movie and the TV show. Yeah. So when you're doing that and making it work within the context of the song, it's a lot more intricate textually than you would think. It's hard to do, piecing it together. So I'm proud of that. But it's a TV show that ran for 13 episodes, was canceled before a full season was out. They made a movie. It's over with. I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I have no problem sharing. And Browncoats, we're awesome people. Well, they're awesome people. I kind of ride their coattails. But and they do great things, and I get to be a part of that, and it's great. But literally, it's what happens when somebody who loves what they do, Joss Whedon, and the whole cast of Firefly gets together, and they make a really quality show and a quality movie, and they touch the hearts and minds of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people.
Yeah, I mean, I have never watched the show, but I've heard about it.
I'm done with this interview. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, you'll remedy that before it's off of Netflix, right?
Just hang that right there.
You have more questions, right?
He said he was done with the interview, folks. All right.
You take things very literally.
Drunk and Sailor are paying me back for my little thing in the background of there.
Alright, so you have 10 albums, not 3, 10 albums.
1, 2, 10.
Covering a range of topics from RPGs, movies, steampunk, and what are some of your passions in the nerd culture? Like, what would you say would be like the home down thing? Because I think you're truly a tabletopper at heart.
That's it. I love tabletop role-playing games. I am a gamer. One of the first convention I ever did geek comedy at was Fear the Con in St. Louis, Missouri, and it's a convention based on the community of a RPG podcast, Fear the Boot. And it was that community that really helped me make that transition into doing geek comedy as well. So they're awesome people, and I love a good role-playing game. I like a bad role-playing game, but I love a good role-playing game. I couldn't figure out when I was 10 years old, when we first started playing, why anybody would ever play Monopoly again. Dude, what are you kidding me? I get to do like cast spells and to save people and make stuff happen and be effective and in Monopoly I'm just paying rent. I do that in real life. That sucks. You know, I want a sword and a crossbow and magic and pointy ears, and we're at an anime convention. Look around. Nobody's here because they wanted to play Monopoly. Nobody.
Unless you're a tycoon.
Well, maybe if you're an anime I don't know, is there an anime tycoon game? There should be. Somebody get on that, Hasbro. Parker Brothers, whoever you are.
All right. Now, are there any upcoming projects you want your fans to know about at this time?
I am working on my next album. Every month I have a free online show on Concert Window. You can watch completely free. You interact via the chat window, and people can make requests. I do toasts, but you don't have to pay anything if you don't want to, and you can still fully interact. It's a great time. Sometimes I sing the chat window. It's not fit for human consumption. I'm PG-13 at the best. I'm casually vulgar. I told you this before. I'm casually a vulgar person. I really am. The Applebee's of vulgarity. But but you don't have to wear a tie for my vulgarity. But I do that every month. The next one's on April 7th, but every month I do that. I get to do my first Renaissance Fair with the Wichita Renaissance Festival coming up in April. I've always got stuff going on. Always got stuff going on. And my Patreon, of course, patreon.com/Mikey Mason. They get stuff every day, updates. Like last night, they got my set list, a clip of the show. They got the opportunity to help define my set list today. They get advanced peeks on new songs, new material, weird cuts, old cuts. Sometimes I just ask them what song they want me to record, and I'll sit down with a guitar and sing into a microphone and record the song they want, and it's generally not mine. But that's on patreon.com. And, of course, listen to the Beer Powered Time Machine. Every week it's getting bigger and better. Are
there any other places we can find you at?
MikeyMason.com, BeerPoweredTimeMachine.com. You can find me on Instagram at CRSMM. You can find me on Facebook at Comedy Rockstar Mikey Mason. You can find me on Twitter at Comedy Rock Geek. I have all these different because I like to make you work for my love. And and also because I didn't think before I started typing. But mainly, you can find the hub. It's at MikeyMason.com. You go to MikeyMason.com, you can find all that. And you can find out where you can buy Mikey Mason's stuff.
Alrighty. And you have a final message you want to get to all the wonderful fans that have been keeping you in their hearts.
Oh my man, I would have to work for a living. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still a work aspect, but if it wasn't for people who consume what I do, who like what I do, who love what I do, and open their hearts and minds and wallets, to be frank, I would have to hold down a job that sucks. That would not be as fulfilling or completing. And this really, right now, I'm at a point in my life, this beautiful, wonderful nexus of events where I get paid to pretty much do what I want. And now, that doesn't mean I don't have to hustle to get paid, because you're always hustling, but I do. Basically, I'm like, I want to paint a picture, somebody's going to buy it. I want to really, and it's not always, but usually I want to put on a show, somebody's going to come. I write an album, I record a song, somebody's going to buy it. It's a wonderful time for me, and it's only getting better, and it's all because of all those awesome people who support me. Thank you guys.
And thank you so much for coming out and chatting with us. Thank you.
Appreciate it, brother. Watch Firefly.